you know that Ninoy Aquino is the father of former President Noynoy Aquino and the actress Chris Aquino? Some of you might wondering why I started this video with asking you all a question. Well, I'm here for a reason and it's an interesting story. Today, I will be answering some of the questions from the assigned reading material that was given to us by our professor. It was entitled, "The Filipino is Worth Dying For." Before reading questions, number 1. Who is Ninoy Aquino and what is his importance in Philippines history? According to my own knowledge that I learned in a previous social studies subject, Ninoy Aquino is the father of former President Noynoy Aquino and actress Chris Aquino. They come from a wealthy family that is also politically connected. He died when someone shot him while he was getting off the plane, which was also the cause of the start of the EDSA Revolution and led to the election of Corazon Aquino as the President of the Philippines. Before reading questions number 2, why was Ninoy imprisoned, tortured, and eventually killed? What was his position before he was imprisoned? Ninoy Aquino was a journalist in his time and got many awards because of his ability to convey information to the people. But we know that there are many people who will not be happy when their bodies are exposed. That's why they imprisoned Ninoy then, because he exposed a lot of information, including the corruption that is happening within the government, which still continue to this day. Before reading question number 3, what was his relationship with then President Ferdinand Marcos? Ninoy Aquino and Ferdinand Marcos are known to be rivals when it comes to politics because Ninoy Aquino does not agree with the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos and Marcos sees Aquino as a threat to his power. Before reading questions number 4, are there any similarities between martial law as it was then and today's time? What are they? Yes! Martial law has a bunch of impact to all of our fellow Filipinos that suffered during that day. Under the constitutions, protecting their lives, liberty, and properties. They even witnesses the execution of numerous young people, but Marcos and Duterte used martial law to discipline and control down the drug dealers and other rebels. Before reading questions number 5, do you think the Filipino is worth dying for? Why or why not? Of course, we are still worth dying for because we are the citizens that make this country livable. The individuals who struggle to seize our own right to speak out against the lies is worth it all. While reading questions, number 1, why did he ask these questions? He asked these questions because he had spent nearly 8 years in military detention, during which time the issue of martial law and its abuses had been nagging concern during his time there. While reading questions number 2, what is it about the Filipino people under martial law that prompts him to ask these questions? Humiliation, bravery, hunger, and anguish are all evoked in him and learns the true meaning of shame, courage, hunger, and ending fear. While reading question number 3, what does this tell us about how he felt about his experience and how the Filipino people were under martial law? It was a period of expectation and challenges in which the final results were largely influenced by desire, greed, and selfishness. There were remnants of dreams unfulfilled, realization of plans unfinished. Somehow, some promises were fulfilled, yet some scars never healed. After reading questions number 1, how did the speech use pathos to persuade the audience that the Filipinos were dying for? What paragraphs did he use to show this? Explain. The speaker, Ninoy Aquino, appealed to the emotion and to every Filipino through paragraphs 4, 5, and 6. He stated that the Filipino people is still the top resource of the country. Through saying this, he clearly stated that us Filipinos, not the government, are the ones capable to bring it to its whole again. Paragraph 5 and 6. In this paragraph, the speaker stated, Filipinos are not. Paragraphs 5 and 6. In this paragraph, the speaker stated that the Filipinos are not cowards. They follow the nation's all dictators during the time because they value the human life. After reading questions number 2, how did the speech use logos to persuade the audience that the Filipino was worth dying for? What paragraphs did he use to show this? Explain. In the speech, the logos can be found in the third paragraph. He explains how a Filipino can be a colonizer to its own homeland, denoting how freedom should be given and how life should be lived in liberation. The speech is considered convincing and persuading. After reading questions number 3, how did the speech use atlas to persuade the audience that the Filipino was worth dying for? What paragraphs did he use to show this? 7 and 8. In those two paragraphs, he used his own experiences to prove that he is not afraid to die. He faced near-death scenarios repeatedly in hands of dictatorships just so he could free the nation from the shackles of martial law. His experiences prove his bravery and determination to grant Filipinos the freedom they deserve. 4. In paragraph 6, Aquino describes the Filipino and says he loves freedom but puts the highest premium on human life and human dignity. Do you agree with Ninoy? Given today's situation, why or why not? Yes, with today's current situation in the Philippines, I still agree with Ninoy when he said the Filipino loves freedom but puts the highest premium on human life and human dignity. Do you think the Filipinos are still largely passive when it comes to perceived violence done by the state? Why do you think this is? Philippines is now under democracy where they can speak and act their minds and hearts out. I don't think that the Filipinos are still largely passive when it comes with this matter. Just like when the current president launched a plot to hang where hundreds of drug addicts were killed that it was considered as EJK, though they were considered as termite of the society, many of the Filipinos disagreed with these activities and stand that they need to be punished as what the law said and not like me being killed by those who imposed the law. In my opinion, I believe that the speech of Hine was very inspiring because he showed bravery and nationalism to fight for our freedom during the presidential time of Ferdinand Marcos. And as a Filipino citizen, I was inspired too with his heart ailment. But still, he continued to fight for the right of every Filipino. The freedom of choice most especially when Ferdinand Marcos declared martial on September 21, 1972, wherein Filipinos are not allowed to go outside their houses and those who obey the law will have its consequences. The use of pathos made the speech more persuasive. Those words were used to support his stand that Filipinos are worth dying for. This affects the audience's sympathy and view how Aquino felt during martial law.